Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show. Mary, welcome to the Principal Podcast. Happy to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Let's jump straight into it. Tell us the story, Mary. What's got you into executive coaching and leadership development?
Oh gosh, it's such a path of pivots, which is why I'm so good at helping people do that. But really, kind of stemmed from my innate curiosity about people. I was a television reporter, first job out of college, really was driven by what's your story? Why do you do what you do? What makes you tick? And then that led me straight into recruiting, believe it or not. And then I was in corporate America. I was recruiting in tech, then in corporate America. And in corporate America, I was actually able to do not only the recruiting, but also merger and acquisition work and executive coaching. And so when I started my own business 14 years ago, I incorporated both the executive search and the executive coaching and leadership development. But what I quickly found out was what really lights me up is the executive coaching.
Love it. All this leading to what, Mary? What is it that you help people achieve today? Like, what is it that you help them, get as an outcome?
Yes. Well, the first thing I'll say is hope, right? Because when people are working in a job that they don't love or trying to get promoted or trying to move forward or trying to pivot, sometimes it feels very daunting if you don't have somebody who's giving you some clarity, some direction, and some hope. And so what I try to do with every stage that I stand on, every book talk that I do, every keynote that I do for corporate, events, and for every one-on-one and group coaching we do is really to give people direction, inspiration, and motivation to live their best work lives.
What does that mean? How does one live their best work life?
Yeah, it really means, okay, so my favorite word that I talk about all the time is this Japanese word called ikigai. Have you heard of it?
Yes. Of course.
So for your watchers and your listeners, ikigai is this most amazing Japanese word that translated to English means your reason for being. But it also is, for those business people and MBAs out there, it's the Venn diagram between what you love to do, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. So it's just such a beautiful thing. And my goal is to get as many people in that sweet spot of ikigai as we can so that we can really be happy. I mean, we're working, 40 hours a week or more. We should be doing something we love so that when we're happier, we tend to get promoted faster, get hired faster, and just have a better balance in our lives, which creates a ripple effect to our families and to the communities that we live in.
I mean, if we're getting into the personal development space, I feel I'm gonna love this one. So there is a book, Ikigai: The Art of Living, really worthwhile, and it's interesting. I find it idealistic, but you need an ideal to then try and build the path towards there, right? So you need to start with the end goal in mind and do everything you can to achieve that. It will never be perfect, of course, but how can you match what you're good at, what you love doing, what you can get paid a lot of money for? And I just forgot the fourth. But yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Who is it that you help, Mary, with all things leadership development? Who is it that you're working with?
Gosh, we work with people at all ages and all stages, but a lot of times we are being hired by somebody in the C-suite to not only help them be better leaders, but also to help elevate and amplify their teams, team dynamics, team results, and team culture. And so that's kind of the sweet spot of where we work. And then the book, What Lights You Up, really applies to every leader at all ages and all stages, even new grads coming out of college who need direction and inspiration in their careers as well.
So I like that. My following up question on this is often I get it, and regardless of the institution, organization that we look at, Mary, people are people, right? And they interact between each other the same way based on their personalities, but the industry doesn't really matter. That said, when I look at successful consulting firms, high ticket coaching firms, they also have carved themselves a niche
Yes.
where they are not just doing, I don't know, sales consulting. They are doing sales consulting for the B2B SaaS space that's raised at least $10 million. Just throwing a random example here. But people like to see, oh, okay, this person has already helped people with that problem I have, and those people look exactly like me. Therefore, I'm more likely to start working with them. This is a very long-winded way to ask, how do you think about marketing and branding when it comes to, hey, this is the problem I solve, but I can solve it for anyone? How do you guys think about that?
Oh, that's a really great question. So, most of our marketing and branding and most of our business comes from referrals because we have done such a great job for one client and they tell another client about us. So, to your point, being a good leader can transcend industries. And so you might have seen on my bio, we've worked with the NFL, we've worked in fintech companies, we've worked in healthcare companies. We tend to stay more on the companies that are really looking to make their mark in a growth way. We're not working with as many companies who are like, okay, we're status quo, we don't need this. We're looking for the people who really want to improve not only their bottom line, but their lives at work.
So that's the positioning. And I think this is what every good marketing strategy should start with, right? What's our
Mhm,
positioning?
mhm.
What has worked for you to get the attention of those people, Mary? What has worked for you to get, I'm not talking about sales just yet, but really people knocking on the door and being like, hey, we might be interested here. What has worked for you guys?
Yes. So we speak at a lot of conferences, which really, really helps because then you're speaking in front of, anywhere from 100 to 5,000 people, and you're in front of that audience. And if they like what they're hearing, of course, they're more apt to reach out to you. LinkedIn has been very good to us. And, like I said, referrals are really, the way that we do most of our work. But from a branding standpoint, it's a lot about being humane leaders. So yes, of course, you're really concerned with the bottom line, but how are you going to hit those numbers and exceed those numbers if you're not doing it through your people?
How do you how do you make this work? How do you make speaking at a conference work? How do you make LinkedIn work? Referrals is kind of like, I mean, I get it. That's any well-performing coaching or consulting firm because you're getting referrals as a result of doing a good job, right? So usually, if people are not getting referrals, I'm like, okay, let's fix the offer first and maybe the product. But so
Yeah.
once referrals is nailed, it's interesting to explore additional acquisition channels indeed. So can you tell us a bit more about conferences, about LinkedIn? How do you make that work specifically?
Yes, well, conferences, there are many of them that we actually also offer a service that is kind of like speed coaching. So we will, tend to do a keynote or a workshop at the conference, but then we also offer up, hey, you have a moment to do some speed coaching with these two executive coaches, or maybe more, depending on how many people we bring. But that is instant exposure to us. And that's like organic business development too, where we actually get to dig into what's lighting these people up, but what's also keeping these people up at night. And we immediately give them at least one takeaway so that they can take it back to their offices. And that tends to make them want more.
Right. Tell me more about what happens next. So you get those people's interest, you have a giveaway, you basically deliver value and then hook them with, hey, you could get more for free if you're interested. How do you tie all this to a conversation, a sales conversation, an SOW, a letter of engagement, and we rock and roll? How do you guys think about sales and like funnels?
Yes. Well, I mean, super important next steps, right? You need to have their contact information first and foremost, because there's no
That
follow-up
helps.
doing that. But having their contact information, connecting with them on LinkedIn, making sure you send a follow-up note based on the conversation so it's relevant to what you spoke about. And then, we have a whole host, we have a big host of services that we can do with different tools and different metrics and things like that. So we hone in on what is it that they really want as a goal or an outcome. And then we send a follow up with, here's how we can help you next.
Maybe a bit of a curveball question to you, Mary, whilst we're on the topic. How do you, so you mentioned that you were making the whole process very human, and that your clients need to do that as well if they want to thrive and keep on growing their companies and their teams. And I'm a huge fan of companies who do what they preach. So how do you, because I suspect there's going to be a huge educational part to all your marketing and sales process, as in, hey, you have a problem, and the problem that you have might be the consequence of a deeper problem that you haven't identified yet. Let me help you identify it, and then let's solve that problem so actually the symptoms will go away. How do you think about all this in that process of marketing and sales with your ideal clients?
Right. So, with the idea of sales and marketing, it's really honing in on where are the places where we can move the needle, right? Where's the low hanging fruit? Let's take baby steps. Let's make sure you have some, wins under your belt before you tackle the big stuff. So sometimes, a lot of times, we start out with clients and they start with a very small package with us. But because of the work that we're doing, then we identify gaps in what they're doing and where we can help them more. We have this amazing psychometric tool that we take people through as well, that we take a deep dive with them through 5 sessions to identify their unique leadership signature. And what I mean by that is not only who they are as leaders, but how to communicate with them, how not to communicate with them, what are their natural gifts, what are their blind spots, what should they be watching out for, but also where is their influence? How are they working through the organization or through their own team with influence? And are they able to influence people to do their best work or to get the best results? So that 5-step program is one that just really, really, really resonates with people. And it's like all these aha moments. And then they say, oh, wait, I want to do this for my team. And then we turn it into a big offsite. And then it's a lot of fun because everybody's appreciating each other, but also speaking the same language to each other.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
You come in, you help a leadership team with their leadership skills. And then what? When I was at PwC myself, so a consultant, complete different field though. One of the things that one of the partners said that I liked was, Guillaume, there are 2 types of consultants. He was talking about himself. There are the hunters and there are the farmers. And he was like, I'm a hunter. I love the smell of fresh blood in the morning. I love to go after new business. That's my jam. He was like, but the partners who grow the fastest and make the most money and bring the most money into the firm are the farmers, the ones who are able to take an initial project, initial relationship, over-deliver, and transform it into a multi-layered, multi-year project involving other teams from the firm. Like, this is what grows a consulting firm. So for you, Mary, how do you guys think about retention, the next project and the next project with the same clients? Not talking about how do we make the most out of a customer, but how do we keep on identifying the next problem, solve it, next problem, solve it, and so on.
Right. Well, that is in constant communication and, providing results to the client in your first few projects, right? Because many projects, when you have success in them, are the ones that start to balloon. I mean, there was one I could tell you about. We started with that 5-step program that I told you about, and then the leader wanted us to do it with his co-leader. one of his colleagues, another person in the C-suite. They had so much luck in this mediated and almost tandem leadership coaching that we were doing, that then they brought their entire leadership team in. And then the entire leadership team said, wait, we need to do this for the next level down. So there's a lot of that. But also from that work, we've created curriculums depending on budget, depending on, what people actually need. We're going to work within their budget, but we can do, a big year-long curriculum with follow-up and follow-through periodically after that. Or we can just do one-on-one coaching with people and just help them move the needle slowly. So it really depends on, PwC, you had big projects and big scopes. Some of our projects are really big and big scopes, but some of them are smaller and it can still move the needle just one person at a time.
Do you see that often? So like going from small project to small project and eventually transforming it into a big one? Or is it like, okay, those big customers, we know that they're going to come up with big asks. Like, I guess, let me rephrase this question now that I'm thinking about it. There is recurring revenue and there is upsell, right?
Yep.
There is the, hey, we solved that problem for that small middle management team in XYZ business unit, but hey, I've seen like your C-suite or some of your VPs also struggling with XYZ. That's a bigger scope, but do you want us to help us do you want us to help there as well? Mm-hmm. Is that what you see happening? Like, how do you think about that?
It's typically in the reverse. Working in front of the C-suite leaders or next level down, and they're saying, oh, wow, I had such a great experience with you. Let's do it to the next level down, the next level down. That middle management sometimes is not empowered to make those big dollar decisions. So starting at the top and working your way down and just expanding the scope of the project tends to work for us.
We're having a bit of a delay, a bit of a lag. Can you hear me all right, Mary?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The video and audio is coming through bizarrely. Let's give it a couple of seconds just to make sure that we're all right. Your image has frozen. That's why I want to make sure that we can hear you properly before we continue on here.
Uh-oh.
Test. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. The image is still a bit blurred, but I can hear you properly. Okay, so that makes sense. And I like your style, Mary. So I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball question at you now, if you don't mind.
Bring it on.
What's your number one challenge right now? What is the one nut that you guys are trying to crack that, once you crack, you're going to take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
For us, it's cloning ourselves. How do we do that? If you have that answer, I am all ears. No, truly, I think what happens is that we probably need to, in my opinion, expand the way that we do group coaching. And can you hear and see me right now?
So we can hear you. The image is still a bit blurry, but we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. In my opinion, we get these big projects. We're a small and mighty team, and we do great work. But when we're hands down or heads down doing great work with clients, how do we continue to expand that, right? Without working 24/7. So I think scale is probably our biggest issues. Probably a lot of consulting. Can you see me?
It's still a bit blurry, and I think the image is still lagging a bit. Let's give it a couple of seconds. Yeah, can you try to log off and log back in again, just to see if it fixes it?
Okay, be right back.
I apologize for that little interruption during the live. This is the reality of the direct. Sometimes internet connections fail a bit, but it's all right. We'll be back with you in a second. Let's give Mary a couple of minutes here. Okay, Mary's back. Can you hear us, Mary?
Can you hear?
Test 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear and see me?
I can hear you. The voice is still a bit bizarre, but we hear you, and the image is completely frozen. So not too sure what's happening. Do you have a second Wi-Fi by any chance that you can maybe try?
Let me do that. Hold on.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.